on how we can make our education meaningful. And next important in this series on 30th of this June, 30 जून को हमारे पंजाबी के एक बहुत मशहूर कवि, एक फेमस पोएट, जिसकी के मेरे ख्याल में इंट्रोडक्शन की किसी को ज़रूरत नहीं है, जिनका नाम है जसवंत जफर। सो जसवंत जफर जी 7 बजे से लेके 8 बजे तक हमारे साथ रूबरू होंगे। तो वो जिंदगी के वो किस तरह से पर्सपेक्टिव को देखते हैं एजुकेशन को, हमें 30 तारीख को उनको मिलने का। आज के वक्ता के लिए मैं ज़्यादा टाइम बीच में ना लेता हुआ मैं अपने प्रधान प्रेसिडेंट डॉक्टर अश्विनी भल्ला जी से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि वो आगे प्रोसीडिंग्स के लिए मंच का संचालन करें। ओवर टू आवर प्रेसिडेंट डॉक्टर अश्विनी भल्ला जी।
रिस्पेक्टेड डॉक्टर लखविंदर सिंह गिल, फॉर्मर डिप्टी डायरेक्टर कॉलेजेस पंजाब in the Department of Higher Education, Dr. Bishnu Mohan Das, faculty in the Ambedkar College, New Delhi, University of Delhi, and my dear various fellow members of Punjab Commerce and Management Association and participants who are observing us on Zoom as well as on the Facebook. We welcome you all in this special program which we have started today, a series of intellectual talks which will be held on education for meaningful life. ये हमने महसूस किया है कि बहुत दिनों से लॉकडाउन होने के बावजूद बहुत सारी समस्याएं आ रही हैं जिसमें हम निकल नहीं पा रहे। हमारे विद्यार्थी परेशान हैं, हमारे अभिभावक परेशान हैं, हमारे व्यापारी परेशान है, हमारी सरकार भी परेशान है। इन समस्याओं का हल तभी निकलेगा जब हमारी सोच एक वैकल्पिक साधन हमारे सामने लेके आएगी। हमारे पास वो ऐसी सोच के लिए क्रिएटिविटी हमारे पास होगी, इनोवेशंस हमारे पास होगी, तभी हम निकल पाएंगे। और शिक्षा प्रणाली, द एजुकेशन सिस्टम ऑफ एनी कंट्री प्लेज अ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट role in all these things. We have observed that our education system, though it was modeled on values, but with the passage of time there are so many weaknesses has been cropped up in it, so we are not in a position to come out of that. So आज का हमारा विषय जो है सार्थक जीवन के लिए शिक्षा। जीवन का आनंद होती है शिक्षा, विपत्ति में प्रकाश होती है शिक्षा, समस्याओं का समाधान होती है शिक्षा, और आपदा में सुखद राह दिखाती है शिक्षा। लेकिन अनफॉर्चुनेटली दिस इज नॉट हैपनिंग। व्हाट इज द रीजंस फॉर दैट? इन सारी समस्याओं को हम रोज डिस्कस करेंगे डिफरेंट पर्सनैलिटीज के साथ। आज के हमारे जो वक्ता है, दो बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण वक्ता हैं। एक है हमारे डॉक्टर लखविंदर सिंह गिल, जिनका एक वास्ट एक्सपीरियंस है और डिप्टी डायरेक्टर कॉलेजेस होने के साथ साथ उनका एक लंबा पढ़ाने का तजर्बा है। और एक गांव के कॉलेज से शुरू उन्होंने किया, अमृतसर के एक बड़े कॉलेज में गए, उसके बाद चंडीगढ़ के डायरेक्टोरेट में वो जाकर के बैठे। उन्होंने एजुकेशन की पल्स को वो जानते हैं। इसलिए हमने सोचा कि ऐसे व्यक्तित्व को जो एजुकेशन की पल्स जानता हो, जिसे मालूम है कि एजुकेशन के अंदर कौन कौन सी समस्याएं हैं, उन समस्याओं को हल कैसे किया जा सकता है, एजुकेशन में किन बातों का इंक्लूजन होना चाहिए ताकि हम एक धरातल के ऊपर उसका बदलाव कर सकें और हमारे विद्यार्थियों के अंदर, आने वाली पीढ़ियों के लिए एक ऐसे सिस्टम का निर्माण कर सके जो हमारे लिए। डॉक्टर लखविंदर सिंह गिल ने अपनी पढ़ाई एक गांव के स्कूल से शुरू की, श्री बाबालाल गवर्नमेंट हाई स्कूल ध्यानपुर, गुरदासपुर जिले का एक गांव है। ग्रेजुएशन उन्होंने एसएल बाबा डीएवी कॉलेज बटाला से की और पंजाब स्टेट मेरिट स्कॉलरशिप उन्होंने प्राप्त की। पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन गुरु नानक देव विश्वविद्यालय अमृतसर से की। एमफिल उनकी फिक्शन के ऊपर है और उन्होंने फेलोशिप के साथ पीएचडी की और उनकी पहली नियुक्ति गवर्नमेंट कॉलेज कालाफगाना में हुई। डीएवी कॉलेज, उससे पहले उन्होंने एक डीएवी कॉलेज अमृतसर में भी पढ़ाया। 1988 में उन्होंने गवर्नमेंट में ज्वाइन किया और 1992 में वो गवर्नमेंट कॉलेज फॉर वुमेन अमृतसर में आए। अंग्रेजी की 4 किताबें लिख चुके हैं। पंजाबी के बहुत अच्छे कवि हैं। उनकी एक पंजाबी की कविता की किताब तू क्यों नहीं बोलदा? That means why the human being do not speak regarding the various problems, various issues which he is encountering with. The poem मेरा पिंड बोलिया जो को दूरदर्शन के ऊपर प्रसारित भी किया गया कई बार, बहुत सारी टीवी डिस्कशंस में वो हिस्सा ले चुके हैं, मैनी सोशल एंड एकेडमिक इश्यूज पे ऊपर अपनी राय हमेशा रखते रहते हैं। लगभग 30 आर्टिकल्स वो नेशनल और इंटरनेशनल जर्नल्स में लिख चुके हैं और 2015 में पंजाब सरकार ने उनको प्रोफेसर बना दिया था, फुल प्रोफेसर, और गुरु नानक देव यूनिवर्सिटी की लैंग्वेज फैकल्टी के, खालसा कॉलेज अमृतसर के बोर्ड ऑफ स्टडीज के मेंबर हैं, एकेडमिक एडवाइजर टू द मैनी एकेडमिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस, और उनका शौक जो है वो रीडिंग एंड राइटिंग, पोइट्री हमेशा रहा है, अंग्रेजी में भी और हिंदी में भी और पंजाबी में भी। लेकिन वो एजुकेशन की पल्स को जानते हैं। हमारे जो दूसरे वक्ता हैं वो डॉक्टर विष्णु मोहन दास, प्रेजेंटली वो डॉक्टर भीमराव अंबेडकर यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ दिल्ली में फैकल्टी मेंबर हैं, सोशल वर्क पढ़ाते हैं, 14 साल का उनका टीचिंग एक्सपीरियंस है। लेकिन सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि भारतीय समाज कार्य परिषद के महासचिव हैं,
योगा करके,
और he is engaged in spreading of Indianization of social work education in India। बहुत से प्रोफेशनल बॉडीज के वो सदस्य हैं, एडिटर हैं बहुत सी जर्नल्स के, जैसे एडिटर इन चीफ ऑफ लर्निंग कम्युनिटी, मैनेजिंग एडिटर एकेडमिया, एसोसिएट एडिटर साउथ इंडियन जर्नल ऑफ पार्टिसिपेटिव डेवलपमेंट, एसोसिएट चीफ एडिटर एजुकेशनल क्वेस्ट, एडिटर ऑफ बाल चौपाल। सो बच्चों के लिए भी लिखते हैं, विद्यार्थियों के भी लिखते हैं, और एजुकेशन के ऊपर वो हमेशा काम करते रहते हैं। इसके अलावा बहुत सारी अंतर्राष्ट्रीय संस्थाओं के मेंबर भी हैं, बहुत सारी कमेटीज के भी वो सदस्य हैं, और बहुत सारे प्रोजेक्ट ICSSR के साथ, दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय के साथ, बहुत सारी डायमेंशंस ऑफ चाइल्ड लेबर के ऊपर वो काम कर चुके हैं, और कई अवार्ड्स मिल चुके हैं। PhD स्टूडेंट्स का भी वो सुपरविजन कर रहे हैं, 14 किताबें उनकी छप चुकी हैं, 2 मोनोग्राफ पब्लिश हो चुके हैं, और एक लंबी लिस्ट है आर्टिकल्स और रिसर्च पेपर जो अंतरराष्ट्रीय स्तर पर उनके छप चुके हैं, और बहुत सारे प्रोग्राम्स में वो इनवाइटेड स्पीकर की
मेरा दिख रही है बुथा।
तो ये दोनों हमारे जो आज के स्पीकर हैं उनकी रूपरेखा है जो मैंने आपके सामने रखी। सो भारतीय समाज के अंदर एजुकेशन मीनिंगफुल कैसे हो सकती है, मीनिंगफुल लाइफ के लिए एजुकेशन कैसे होनी चाहिए, मैं सबसे पहले रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा डॉक्टर लखविंदर सिंह गिल जी से कि वो अपना वक्तव्य रखें। डॉक्टर लखविंदर सिंह गिल।
सर मैं सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स को म्यूट कर रहा हूं प्लीज।
ओके डॉक्टर लखविंदर, यू कैन अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ।
Can I start?
Yes. Sir, just give me a second, sir. I have to mute everybody because there is a lot of disturbance. सर अब आप अपने आप को अनम्यूट कर लीजिए। हम अनम्यूट कर लो सर, ते तुसी बोल सकते हो।
आप अनम्यूट कर लो अपने आप। डॉक्टर लखविंदर।
ओके सर।
ओके।
Yes sir, should I start?
Yes.
Hello friends, first of all I congratulate Dr. Balla and his team for taking initiative to have a dialogue on a very important issue today, that is education and meaningful life. Today we see a strange paradox in our times. The paradox is the graph of education is going up, but the graph of human values is going down. That is why the role of education has come under scanner. Looking at the present scenario, now more universities and colleges are being opened, but that pace is missing as regards the meaningfulness of life. If the scale of education is going up, the scale of divorce rate has also gone up. The graph of suicides of the youth has also gone up. According to WHO, 1 person dies every second by committing suicide in this world. And for one suicide case, 20 people attempt suicide. That is the attempt. The graph of rape cases in India is also not declining. According to Thomson Reuters Foundation survey of 2018, India is declared the most dangerous country for women. Last but not the least, the violence in the name of caste remains unbridled so far, friends. When in modern India we see mob lynching in the name of caste and creed, the rape of young daughters of India, it is so saddening and disturbing, especially when we claim that ours is a land of gurus, saints, and prophets. From this angle, it is very important to ponder over the theme we have taken up today. Education is a long process of gaining knowledge. In India, like the other countries of the world, we have 3 stages of education. They are school, college, and university. All the 3 institutions impart education, keeping in view our age or stage of life. Through these 3 stages, we are first taught to listen carefully, then to speak, and then gradually we are encouraged to discuss and debate over facts and reach logical conclusion. Universities in particular polish our critical abilities and train us to listen to criticism and to form constructive opinion. University, as the word is derived from the word universe, awakens us to the reality of the universe. In other words, through its different streams of science, arts, and commerce, university demystifies the reality of this world and defines man's role accordingly. It decodes the secrets of the universe for man to make his life compatible and ultimately happy. In other words, the ultimate goal of education is the joy and of happiness of man. But the question that comes to our mind is, has education actually made us happy? This is a very relevant question. Here, I would like to quote a study conducted by Howard University, which is one of the leading universities of the world. As the university has produced Nobel Prize winners, eminent statesmen, eminent teachers, and scientists, what they wanted to discover was who is more happy in life? Scientists, teachers, or statesmen? They interviewed their old students. Interestingly, what they discovered is that the students who have good relations in life are the happiest lot. In other words, it is not the academic score or the merit of students which constitute his happiness. Rather, it is his relations with others that make him happy. Economic status or social status of people stand nowhere as regards man's inner happiness. Man may be anything, but if he has no relation where he can open up his mind freely, he is definitely a sad man and he is definitely not a happy man. The fact is further proof that man never thinks of leaving this world or making exit from this world due to hunger or poverty if there is someone to offer him a shoulder to fall upon. This is a psychological fact. For a happy life, man doesn't need high IQ, but ability to earn good relations. Now, here is a point that demands our attention. The point is, good human relations demand patience, trust, honesty, which is not the thrust area of our education. We can also put it in other words, education should focus on cultivating human values in the minds of students. Ironically, with the spread of technical education, the graph of human values, as I already told you, is going down. It's as if we are being turned into feelingless robots and engines only. Friends, our education couldn't curtail the upswing of violence. which is occurring on the physical and psychological level. Hard reality is that every year 10 lakh people commit suicide in the world, and India alone contributes 1,09,000 to it. This figure is very high and alarming. Drug addiction, suicide, withering human relationships, a rise in domestic violence clearly indicates and points out at the fact that there are few gray areas in our present education that need to be addressed. No doubt, we cannot do without technical and scientific education. That is need of the hour. But the policymakers shouldn't forget that it shouldn't be at the cost of loss of human aspect of the personality of our students. A recent survey conducted during lockdown due to COVID-19 is very significant. It proved that about 5% people lost interest in life even when they were sitting in their own homes. The thought of ending their life started haunting them when they were staying in their own families. Surprisingly, this negative feeling haunted those people only who were all graduates and postgraduates. But this feeling of meaninglessness in life didn't occur to uneducated people. So what I mean to say is that educated people are more prone to alienation, which shouldn't be the case. Modern man is feeling alienated, even though sitting in his own family, that drives him to psychological illness like depression and drug addiction. Psychology says man tends to get intoxicated when he finds a vacuum in his life, which he tries to fill somehow with something. And he takes solace in artificial mood boosters. Let's have a look at our past when our forefathers were not educated. But certainly they were happy as they were good at building up and maintaining relations. They lived in joint families. They led good community life. They used to help each other, used to seek each other's help in crisis. But with the advent of education, human relationships have suffered the most. Human relations, which is the best source of joy. Here, it will be worth mentioning that our education focuses only building our IQ, that is intelligence quotient, which is quite hereditary and there is very little scope to improve upon it. We check the IQ level of our students in every subject. We examine his IQ level of every subject, whether it is science or art subject. He's made to memorize facts and reproduce it in examination hall. That's all. But other constituents of human personality like EQ, emotional quotient, PQ, personal quotient, and SQ, some call it social quotient, that remains ignored. If a person is impatient, angry, and feels irritated, it means he has poor EQ. This is most important quotient for building and maintaining relations. Our stress on IQ and putting EQ at the back burner has made our children impatient, and we are responsible for it, my dear friends. Next is SQ, that is spiritual quotient. Some people call it social quotient too. It is the ability to see beyond the material world or material gains. It urges us to live not for the self, but for the humanity too. When a teacher is not ready to guide or help his students beyond the classroom, it means the teacher has poor SQ. Last but not the least, PQ, personal quotient. If a man doesn't enjoy good health, it means his PQ is not good. Here too, as educationists, we are losers. Ironically, there are schools and colleges which have no playground or open area for the students to play. Moreover, our youth entering college is caught in the whirlpool of tuitions. Their only aim is to get good ranking in competitive exams. Resultantly, majority of them have very poor health. This is how we, the would-be citizens of our nation we make the would-be citizens of our nation, they don't have good EQ and PQ. The truth is that the foundation of happy and meaningful life of our would be citizens bear cracks, which is something serious. One thing more I would like to add, that is high IQ is not the only criteria for happy and successful life, friends. Study says the people with good EQ and SQ and PQ lead more successful life, and it won't be an exaggeration if we say that they rule the men with high IQ. Now we come to the question that is meaningful life. What is that? Education can lead to meaningful life. It trains the citizens to serve the society to which he owes a debt. The language we speak, the house we live in, the clothes we wear, the food we eat, the electronics we have in our house are the result of the collective effort of our society. Even education we get is not a single man's brain. So we can pay off the debt to the society by serving it with honesty and sense of sincerity. But the race in our students to beat others in marks kills their innocence in their very childhood and makes them clever and smart. In this race, sometimes they learn to conceal facts and pretend what they are not. Thus, they lose basic human values. They are simplicity. Those are simplicity and tenderness of heart. When we are discussing today the role of education with meaningful life, the discussion will be incomplete if we don't bring in the role of teacher. In this context, the prefaced idea is, if the teacher doesn't find meaning in his own life, he cannot attach meaning to the life of his students. He should be free of all social and financial insecurities. He should have no tension of what he will do when no classes are held or when he is retired. Unfortunately, teachers in our society are an ignored lot if we take into account the current situation. The new teacher is not being paid handsomely. He has no job security, no scope of promotion. Here we should bear in mind that devotion, commitment, and passion for teaching flows only from financial security. Let me say, if our leaders need pension after their every win in election, why not a teacher who spends his entire life training minds of the youth to be ideal citizens of the country? At the end, I would like to conclude with the sentence which I like most. That is, the aim of education is not only to teach us the formulas of maths and physics, it should also teach us the algebra of life and the geometry of human relationships. Only then education can give us meaningful life. Thank you. Thank you, friends.
Thank you, Dr. Lakhvinder. You have rightly said that scale of education is going up, but the moralities in the societies are absolutely going fall down. Many people are making suicides, and if you say that one person makes suicide every minute and 20 people are attempting suicide, there is a mob lynching, rape cases in the society, it means we have not understood till now the meaning of real education.
Yes.
Fake education. Life of the human being happy. The life of human being has become miserable. Miserable because you have seen that during this lockdown period, the people are dying with so many things they are afraid of, but the nature is very happy. The nature has taught us a lesson that you must understand the real meaning of the education. They are teaching us in a right way, the role which the teachers must have played, the role which the society must have played, that is played by the nature now. So education must focus on cultivating values. It must focus on maintaining the relationship. It must focus on strengthening the human relationship. We are seeing that the countries are fighting just for the piece of land. People are dying. The young persons are laying off their lives.
Yes.
Unfortunate for the whole society and for whole world to think about it. So we have to develop the spiritual coefficient. We have to work on the foundations of education. Though the education is making our young personalities more smarter, more clever, but they are not becoming the human being. This is the right cause which we must address in education.
Yes, exactly.
Unless and until we have the values, we cannot make progress in this field. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you for giving your views regarding this. Now I request our second speaker, Dr. Bishnu Mohan Das. He's a very dynamic personality, very young person in a very lesser age. He has achieved so many things. He's a general secretary of organization which is giving direction to the society, Bharatiya Samaj Karya Parishad, as engaged in spreading the movement of Indianization of social work education. Yeah. So unless we connect with the society, we are not going to get anything in return for the humanity at all. Dr. Bishnu Mohan Das.
Thank you, Professor Bhalla sir. Sir, I am audible?
Yes, absolutely, sir.
Thank you, Professor Bhalla sir, and General Secretary of Punjab Commerce and Management Association for giving me this opportunity to speak before the erudite and well-read speakers. I will be sharing some of my thoughts towards the need and importance of Indianization of education in India. Because just Professor Gill has highlighted various social emerging problems in India. He cited youth unrest, he cited suicide, many problems. And he also suggested that we should emphasize on generating some Indian values among the students. In my lecture, I will be highlighting the basic problems in our education system. We should try why our education is at the crossing roads, why there is so much academic apartheid, why our students are not able to address the social problems. Because I belong to the social work discipline and I've read something sociology and psychology. So in my talk, I'll refer mostly to social work, psychology and sociology, because that is also the problem of the Indian system, because we teach that specialized educational teaching in the universities. Anyway, before highlighting the problems of education in India, let me give a brief trajectory of the journey of Indian education in India. India, which was considered as Vishwaguru before 4,000, 5,000 years ago, why our universities are not in the international ranking list? Why there was a problem? If we examine the trajectory, if we examine the journey of social work education from Vedic age to present contemporary age, you will find that there is a drastic changes in the system. In the ancient system, everybody knows the universities like Nalanda, Taxila, Bikramshila, Ujjain was considered as the world famous universities. In Nalanda, during the ancient period, we had more than 10,000 scholars. Those are coming from China and South Asia to study in India. And the Nalanda University was flourishing during the 3rd century AD to 12th century AD. Only during 12th century AD, you see that your Cambridge and Oxford University started in UK, where that time Nalanda University was at the peak, at the head of its progress. But why? What is the situation? Why our education system has been so much degraded? If you see in the medieval India, of course, there was so much invasion, so much invaders came to India, but our Indic system of education was still prevalent. If you see in the Buddhist period during the 5th century BC, there was also the Buddhist, the Tripitaka was also the source of learning. And our society was, the Indic model of education was still prevalent. But the problem came only during the British period, particularly during the period 1823 to 1835. During this period, there was debate between two groups of academicians. One group was known as Orientalist, another group was called Occidentalist. The Orientalist group academicians, they were people from the classical languages, whereas the Occidentalists suggested that education should be given in the English language. So during the colonial rule, in the meantime, between the controversy and debate, the famous minutes of Lord Macaulay was published. And in the Makle report suggested that the education should be given only to the upper class people and through the English language. So the introduction of English language as the medium of instruction in India opened the doors of the West to the East. Since then, 1835, the period of intellectual colonialism started in India, what we call new colonialism. That new colonialism period continued till the period 1870. Lord Macaulay wanted that they will be educating only the upper class people, only through the English language, and these upper class people will teach to the other sections of the society. So that education will go step by step, drop by drop to the other people. That means the upper class people will feed the information that they've read through English medium, particularly the informations they've read, the European literature, European science, European philosophy, European values, and they will feed to the general masses of the population. And that way will be completely be the colonial slaves of the Europe. And this happens. If Lord Macaulay will be here today, he will be much delighted to see that how the Indians have become so much nice, sincere followers of his dictum, that we have adopted their curriculum, we have adopted their values, we have adopted their morals, their ethics. And this was the original thought of Lord Macaulay. He wanted a class of persons who are Indian in blood, who are Indian in color, but English in taste, opinions, morals, and intelligence. Even Auckland also declared that it was the government policy to promote the filter culture. Filter culture means downward theory of filtration of education. The upper class people who are trained in English, they will definitely become the follower of the British, and naturally they will feed their European ideas into the other sections of the society. Even if you see the history, you will find that in the 1884, Wood's dispatch was issued by Sir Charles Wood, in which he declared that the main objective of education in India by the British government is the diffusion of Western science, philosophy, and literature. Accordingly, in 1857, they established three famous universities: Calcutta University, Mumbai University, and University at Madras. These three universities started imparting the colonial model of education. And during this period, for the first time in the history of India, our education system got the state patronage. It was regulated under the state government. And we know, everybody know, Gilsell also highlighted that education is essential for empowerment, for enlightenment, for harmonious development of the individual, and for the sustainable development of the society. But what happened after the introduction, after 1870s, when we have universities established, and that universities, what they did, they entirely borrowed, imported the educational curriculum from UK and USA and other developed countries. And there was complete denial, complete sidelining of the Indian wisdom, Indian values, development, everything was common. So this process of neo-colonialism started in academics, which we call professional imperialism and Eurocentrism. And it happened in every course. It happened in every course from nursery to the, you can say, university. We try to create among the children the European worldview. Curly haired, that, eyes are blue, that European worldview, that Europe is superior, Europe is the ultimate reality, Europe is the ultimate reference point to the whole world. And in the social work, we've entirely borrowed the syllabus that was taught in Chicago and the American universities. If you see in psychology, we teach only foreign theories like Sigmund Freud. Everybody knows that theory is not relevant to Indian context. The basic problem in India is we adopted the entire educational curriculum, entire contents from the West, from the America, considering that this is the universal knowledge. considering that this is the superior knowledge than India. But this is unfortunate. When we borrowed the knowledge, we never examined its universality, its validity, its appropriateness, its effectiveness in Indian context. Because by nature, social science has to be cultural, has to be local, has to be indigenous. But what happened in our case? We completely borrowed the knowledge from the West. I am not telling American social science is bad. European social science is bad. American social science is good because it was developed scientifically to fulfill the needs of the American society. It was based on the Christianity and Judo values. It was based on the philosophy of it, on the science of in the principles of social change. But that American social science is suitable for American. European philosophy, European social science is suitable for Europe. But for India, we need local knowledge. We need local indigenous experience. We want that everything should be based on the Indian worldview. But the problem was, it was not objected by the academician. Our Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda is told, Savidya cha vimukta hai, education that liberates. He also criticized the Western model of education. Swami Vivekananda told that Western English model of education is running riots in our brain, and it is not possible to digest that the kind of useless, dry information is feeding into our brain. Our students are trained just to mechanically memorize the information and to produce and to retrieval during the exam time. That is completely useless. Even Sri Aurobindo during the first decade of the 20th century, he also told we have been completely cut off from our ancient roots and culture and education. The whole method and aim of education that we have borrowed, transplanted from Europe and USA needs to be redesigned, needs to be rewritten off. Even Rabindranath Tagore also agreed and remarked that all over India there is a vast feeling of discontent about the prevalent system of education. Still now, despite for the last so many decades, after we are having political independence since 1947, still we are perpetuating the Western model of education. And Swami Vivekananda told something that Savidya jab vimukta, education that liberates. Now we are talking of Savidya jab nijukta, the education that gives employment. The whole vision, the whole paradigm of education has been changed over the period of time. And this is the complete paradox of modern education. Lord Macaulay would be very much delighted that we have become ingrained and we have adopted such a subservient mindset that USA, UK, that is the ultimate reference point, that they are the good. So we need to discard the Western education and embrace education that is rooted in Indian culture. I am not saying that at present, holistically 100% we reject the Western model of education. That is not possible because we have passed around 200 years and it is not possible to suddenly revise that entire curriculum and start something new. It is not possible. But in a social work, in the movement that we have been running for the last 3-4 years, we have incorporated 30 to 40% Indic curriculum so that there will be synergy between the Indic wisdom and international standards of the education. So at least there must be some kind of link. We must place Indic components into the curriculum. Otherwise, there will be social problems like Gills have highlighted, that suicide, all these problems are happening in India. Why? Because our Indic values, our dharma, duty, dharma means duty, our nishtha, satya, ahimsa, upeksha, all these values, these spiritual values are universal values. These are eternal values. And these values are relevant for all ages, all time. So there is the importance for promoting Indianization of social sciences, not only social sciences, social work education, psychology education, sociology, and other disciplines. We must try for promoting Bhartikaran social education. Because The American society and Indian society is entirely different. Indian society is agricultural society, American society is an industrial society. In Indian society, the family is very strong. That is our strength. We have joint family. We have extended family. You see the American family system. Single families, the number of single families is growing. There are a number of crimes in America. And you know, but we see the positive side of America, that American economy is having around 21.5 trillion economic dollars. That is one of the highest economic GDP of the world. But you can see their averages, you can see their international debt, that is more than $22 trillion. Because the basic problem is in America, their entire family is disturbed. Their culture is broken. Their society is fractured. America government has to spend more than 50% of its expenditure on social security measures. But India, you see the beauty of the family. In this Corona time, people from Delhi, Mumbai are traveling to their home, Bihar, UP, Odisha. Why? Because they love their family. They want to stay with the family. Otherwise, if single families grow like America, in India will find hundreds of old homes, hundreds of children's homes, hundreds of orphan homes. But we don't like, because our family, our social institutions, our cultural institutions are very strong, and that is why Indian society has survived despite number of invasions, number of invaders come to India. I am giving you one reference in this regard. You can read the book published in 1994 by the leading international publisher HarperCollins. The book name is Fatherless America, written by Professor David Blankenhorn. The book name is Fatherless America. I will not go more details about the book. If you read at least from the Google, you will find the present contemporary status of family society in America. As the book name says, the 40% of the American adults don't know, or they are not aware about their fathers. That is the family system. That is the society that having in America. How can you follow the culture? How can you follow the ideals of developed countries in Indian context? And this is not a book, not a particular person, Professor David Blanken wrote. This book was the research report conducted by him and government of America. The President George W. Bush had constituted a committee to suggest some measures to revive the American family structure. So for this, George W. Bush, the Honorable President of USA, had constituted National Commission for American Urban Families, chaired by Professor David Blankenhorn. Professor David Blankenhorn, that was in 1992. Took 2 years, surveyed 50 states in United States of America, and after 2 years, he published his report in the findings. The title of the book was Fatherless America, and the title shows automatically reflects the situation of America. But Indian society, because of dharma means that sustains the universe. Dharma has come from the Sanskrit word dhru. So in dharma, in Indian society, because of dharma, there is peace, there is tranquility. India is one of the better place in the world to stay. Of course, there are social problems, but if you compare our social problems to the size of our population, it is nothing in comparison to the other developed countries. And dharma is the first purushartha of human life. Dharmena bihine vasu. Sometimes you also say that if there is no dharma, that persons devoid of dharma is as like as better as animals. So in Indian society, it is only the dharma, that is the fundamental that holds our society, that we are performing our duties. Our society is in proper place. Our families is in proper place. And dharma also describes, in Patanjali, describes dharma also, number of restraints and 5 restraints and 5 observances. But there is need to reform. So on the basis of the discussion, I can say there is need to reform the entire education. Gill have also highlighted that there is need for reforming education, not only at the content level that I've highlighted for Indianization, but at the method level as well as evaluation. Methods mean teaching methods as well as evaluation methods. As Gills have highlighted that there should be the first part is content. We should try to incorporate the ND components in our university and college education. We should not remain as the marketing agents of the America, US. We are the sons. We know we are the sons of Kalidas. We belong to the generation of Brahmira, Charaka, Chanakya. There are Susruta, number of leading sages, leading philosophers. We have so much intellectuals. We can include their ideology, their knowledge in the social work, our social science, university and college education curriculum. Besides that, we need to expand the philosophical base of education. The social science that we teach, particularly in the field of social work, is mostly Christian-centric. We need to integrate, diffuse the Indian philosophical base like Hinduism, Sikhism, Buddhism, Jainism, and all other, even Islam, Christianity. We should try to expand the philosophical base of the curriculum, because whatever we teach is purely an unsecular subject. So we have to secularize the subject. We have to add many philosophical dimensions into the curriculum. And second important thing is that Gills have highlighted that we should avoid that mechanical memorizing of useless dry information that is not relevant. We should promote debate. We should promote brainstorming sessions. We should promote understand debating, questioning, inquiry. This should be promoted in the university and college level. Our teachers should not be like the tape players. Go to the classroom and deliver information like textbook, and our students are like the tape recorders, recording the information what the teacher says. But unfortunately, this caricature of teaching has become a widespread reality in Indian context. So my suggestion is that there is need to reject the Western Eurocentric paradigm of education, because Western education, Western curriculum, Western philosophy are not universal philosophy. We must challenge it, we must reject it, and if it is relevant, we must accept it. Because Rig Veda says, let the knowledge come from the whole world. So in Indian context, we don't exclude anything. And exclusion is not the Indic way of life. Because in India, we have persons, those who believe in God, and those are persons who don't believe in God. So in India, Charvak was completely against the philosophy of believing the God. He's also against the philosophy of birth, concept of birth and rebirth. So in India, we don't exclude anything, but we'll exclude that is not benevolent. If that knowledge is not relevant to our context, if the knowledge is destructive, then we must reject the knowledge. We must discard the knowledge. Because the only condition, only qualification for incorporation in the curriculum is that knowledge should be benevolent, it should be for the well-being of the people, it should be Bhadra. That our Rig Veda says. So there is time, it is the proper time to rewrite and redefine the future course of education in India. In social work, we have been successfully doing. For the last 3 years, we have been working towards Indianization of social work education by organizing seminars, conferences, developing our own curriculum, where we have invited more than 30 professors from different parts of the country. And I am very happy to say that our syllabus is getting appreciation from different parts of India. Even some universities have started adopting our curriculum. And some universities have partially adopted our curriculum. And I'm very happy to say that even some students have taken up topic on Indianization at their PhD level. So there is need to promote Indianization of social work education so that it will be definitely meaningful. So at the end, I'll suggest that there must be, when you go for Indianization of social work, the Eurocentric intellectuals, the culturally alienated, the culturally ignorant intellectuals, those who are prejudiced, those who are Eurocentric, those who are biased, will definitely try to stall the movement towards Indianization. But we have to work because this is our India. We get lots of energy because of our dharma, our truth, our that Indic values and ethics. We get lots of energy and we must strive towards achieving Indianization of education in our country. So at the end, I will suggest we must try to decolonize, Indianize, nationalize, spiritualize, indigenize our education. Thank you. Thank you for your patient listening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Vishnu, for giving a very, very insightful opinion about your view on education system in India. Really, it is a very, very thoughtful for all of us that we were having world famous universities like Nalanda and Takshila, but with the invasion of various things in our society, we become weakened. Financially, we may be very strong, but educationally, we are becoming weak and weak every day. There is a need of harmonious and sustainable development of the society. For that, we have to change our education. We must develop our own content, though there are certain good things in their contents also that we must accept, but from that also we must develop our own content. So rather than importing the content, the effectiveness of the content at the local level needs to be identified, that based on the needs of the society. So education is that which liberate the people. So we are just in the four walls. We are tightened in the four walls. We have to think about it. There are certain reforms which you have suggested, that is the content development, the methodology need to be changed. The education must be based on debate, brainstorming. We must not become tape recorders. So social work education, our society has to be joined for that. So these are certain issues which you thought about it. Now I will be having two comments, one from Professor J.K. Gulati ji, who is from Regional College, Regional University of Regional Center of Punjab, Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar at Jalandhar, and one from Dr. Daljit Kaur, and then final comment from our Dr. Lakhvinder Gill. So, can you hear me, Dr. Gulati?
Sir, am I audible?
Sir, unmute kar lo. Haan, yes. Yes.
Right, sir. Good evening, everyone. And Dr. Bhalla and his team, Dr. Vikasi, you really deserve to be congratulated on initiating a very innovative idea of connecting and enabling every person interested in the education sector or a system through this beautiful technological usage. We call it online or Zoom sessions. Thanks a lot for that. Regarding education, though I have posted my observation in the chat box, but sir, one thing is there, as our keynote speaker, Dr. Lakhvinder Gill, and followed by Dr.
Vishnu Das.
Vishnu Mohanji. Dr. Vishnu Das Mohanji was highlighting that he drew a rather very exhaustive kind of a historical drop of education in India, background of India. If sir, we are so much rich in our heritage, when we speak very high of our Nalandas and all that, and our rich Indian value system, especially of what use it is going to be if we are not having it in our present system. I fail to understand, and to me, so far experience reveals to me that all stakeholders in the education to some extent are responsible. Like administrators, Dr. Lakhvinder Gill has been administrator position at some point of time in his career. He must be agreeing with me that during his stint in the directorate in Chandigarh, he must have faced a number of problems. And rather, I'm very thankful to Dr. Gill with his gutsy declaration that faculty needs to be paid handsomely. So this is very rightful observation you have made. The way we are having more than 90% of the faculty in our educational institutions, why with their temporary stakes when they are appointed on ad hoc basis, why they would be putting their sweat and blood and everything in the education system? One. Two, I think our leadership is also responsible. I mean, our political masters who unfortunately believe in majoritism, who are in power, they think, from their own narrow perspective, and they always focus in this parliamentary system on vote catching device. You see this trend of saffronization of education, which is happening right now under our nose. Look at the position of chief executives in the universities who are appointees of political masters. Of course, they would be dancing to the tune of political master. This thing again needs to be noted. Then we as Indian people are very tolerant. If we have tolerated 300 years of, people, ruling us, you can very well see we are not that gutsy people who can call in question. And moreover, I would find that in the environment of our Indian homes,
Sir,
we have been raised and brought up in a culture.
Your comment so that we can give one another chance to.
Yes, I am just, closing my observations. My question is born out of all these convictions and feelings. We have been raised and bred up in our family system culture, which is very strong. But we have always been taught not to take any risk. In fact, I call myself to be conventional in thought. I don't believe in experimentation. I will not let my child take a risk. I think everybody of us has been raised in this kind of a family environment. Though we are very great in our sanskars, though we Indians have also shown our mettle on the global front. Sundar Pichai is a good example, because when Twitter, he was being pushed upon by the Twitter employer, by the Google. So that person made him CEO of the Google, and you can very well see. But my question with the speaker is that why, sir, with so much rich heritage of Indian value system with us, at this juncture, we are failing to inculcate that kind of values which is going to make my Indian student be bold enough to face the challenge of his life, especially failures. Because when there is a competitive environment, failures are bound to be there. Sir, your comments.
We'll be taking your answer from our resource persons. So Dr. Diljit, within 2 minutes. Dr. Diljit, can you hear me?
Please ask, unmute.
Hanji. Dr. Ashwini Palaji, Dr. Vikas Ji, Dr. Lakhvinder Singh Gill, and Vishnu Mohan Das Ji. This is a great initiative which has been taken by PCMA. It is rather, we can say, commendable efforts made for these series. And it was nice to listen to Dr. Lakhvinder Singh Gill. And I know he's a very good orator and a poet also. And he puts his views very beautifully. And Dr. Vishnu Mohan also, he has very nicely, he has told about what was the history of our culture and education. Again, like Dr. Gill also pointed out, that was what we were few years back. But what is the condition at this moment? At this moment, where are we? We are, why there is deterioration in education system is because we are not giving the right education. We are teaching them the tricks of the trade. When we are teaching them the tricks of the trade, and the students are also learning that, and this is how it is multiplying and it is deteriorating. Again, it is the, I always say that whatever the system is, the society is, the responsibility lies with the educationists. Responsibility lies with the teachers, because if there is any society which is not behaving good, the responsibility is of a teacher. We did not teach them in the classrooms if any officer or a businessman or any politician, anyone, if we say that they are not doing good for the society, that means there is a role of a teacher who did not teach them the true values. The values are deteriorating. The education is, we can say that differentiating between literacy and education. So literacy is going up, but real education and the value system is deteriorating. It is very important to take care of it before we are not able to handle it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Diljit, for giving your inputs. So Dr. Swinder Singh Rekhi has written in the chat box that we have forgotten the all-round development of personality development of our students. So that must be there along with the rote learners system of education. So now 2 minutes each to our both the speakers to respond all these questions. First, Dr. Lakhvinder Singh Gill and then Dr. Bishnu Mohan Das. Dr. Lakhvinder, please. Dr. Lakhvinder.
Please unmute yourself, sir. Should I do it from here, sir?
Yes.
His co-host, sir, I think he himself has to do it.
Dr. Saab, unmute yourself, Dr. Lakhvinder Gill ji.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay.
Haan ji, sir. Now it is okay, sir.
Yes, sir. What I wanted to tell is, what I wanted to convey is that the focus of education should be the all-around development of the personality of our students. Simple examining IQ, simply giving them tests to check their IQ, that is not enough. And as I told, EQ and SQ is more important than IQ. This is what I want to say. And as the observation has already been made by Dr. Gulati, is that much more important is how much weightage and how much importance we give to teaching, to our teachers. Teachers should be smart. We don't need smart classroom. We need smart teachers. And smart teacher can be, we can have smart teacher only and only if they are paid smartly. That's enough. If they should have no insecurity of life, they should be free from all economic financial worries. Only then he can give full time, full strength, full vigor and passion to his profession. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. We have said so many things in words that we need smart teachers and they should too be paid smartly, not not a meager amount of just surviving on the life.
And I think I have told it my discourse also that if our statesmen, respected leaders, if they are paid salary, very good salary, very good pension, even after their every win into the state legislature and parliament, why should not a PhD or UGC scholar should be paid pension and handsome salary? This is my humble observation.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you for valuable inputs. So we'll be, when this, the proceedings of these all discourses will go to the government, somewhere talk will start on this issue.
Thank you.
One comment from Dr. Bishnu Mohan Das. Dr. Das.
Thank you, sir. Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes,
sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I will highlight only 2-3 things as raised by the eminent audience. Sir, the thing is why this problem is happening. It is only because of the indoctrination in the schools and colleges that European values, and indoctrination that our institutions are based. Sir, you are all teachers. You are all, and many teachers are in this today listening this lecture, and research scholar also. How we have done, how we have systematically, the Europeans have destroyed our institutions. For in example, in the university, if there is a case of sexual harassment, it will go to the university sexual harassment committee. Otherwise, it will go to the state women commission. Then it will go to the national women commission. Where is the role of the family? Where is the role of the panchayat? Because we have suspected the role of family and the panchayat. And we followed the institutions that is developed by the Europe and America, and we started following this in Indian. And second thing is, you can imagine the present contemporary situation of America, sir. More than 1/3 of the population that is dying out of COVID-19 are residents of the old age. But in India, we accept. But that is some negative. But the positive thing is, sir, Gill Sahib is there. That, sir, we have adopted from Bloomberg that 52-point scale that is adopted in all the CBSE schools, what we call CCE, Comprehensive Continuous Evaluation. Besides the examination pattern, now in all the CBSE schools, and all my children are also studying in CBSE schools, their teachers have to rank all the students from 1 to 5-point scale, and there are 52 indicators like discipline, sincerity, punctuality, attention. And when the teachers will get power for evaluation of the students, the teacher will get respect. When the teacher promote examination of the students through memory retrieval, then teachers will not get respect. Because in university and colleges, the students without attending classes also, they can secure good marks. That is one important thing. Second thing is, sir, our syllabus that we are teaching is in parts. It is in the specialized form. Suppose when we are teaching geography, the students cannot link it to the history. Because sometimes geography, history, economics, civics are interrelated. But in India, we are following the Western guidelines. We are teaching separate history, separately geography in the school level. You see, in Finland, for the last 2 years, they've started teaching integrated subjects in a holistic way. So these are some of my suggestions. But now government our central government has also taken some drastic steps. We are now introducing LOCF, Learning Outcome Curriculum Framework. Earlier we have annual system, then semester, then we came CBCS. Now we are talking of outcomes. I think some of the issues definitely will be addressed in the new education policy.
Dr. Saab, thank you. Now we have to conclude with the remarks of this session that ultimately the aim of education should be producing joy and happiness in the life. If we are not able to produce it, it means something is wrong with the education system. We must focus on our cultivating values in the system. We must maintain and develop relationship in the society. So if education is not providing it, it is going to be a failure. So we must go beyond the classroom to teach to the students. Though teacher must be empowered, they should be paid properly, they should be given due status in the society. When I hear that in America, when a teacher is in the court, the judge stands, but here the teachers are beaten in the streets, the teachers are on the roads for their demands. This is an unfortunate part of our education system. Anybody, if it is listening through Facebook or Instagram or through Zoom, they must respect the teachers. Today in the pandemic situation, if we are not coming out for the benefit of the students, that is the reason that 70% of the faculty of the colleges are part-time ad hoc guest faculty. In most of the private colleges, they are relieved, therefore they are not concerned with the students. So that's why these are the issues which must be highlighted. Otherwise, our society is going to be on the crossroad. We are going to produce criminals. We are going to produce the people who are not for the good of the society. But where we are going, we are lacking in all these fields. I think with this note, I end here. I thank you very much. Though the numbers will increase when we start doing this discussion. Number of people has joined on the Facebook. They are listening to us in the second round. On 30th, we'll be meeting with Jaswant Jafar, who is a technocrat by profession, but poet by heart. He has faced so many hardships in the life, but still he's a path with the personality and seen the life from the core of the heart. He will be talking on education on 30th. Similarly, on this time, 7 to 8. Similarly, on same Zoom, same ID, same password. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vikas. Thank you, Dr. Gill. Thank you, Dr. Vishnu Mohan Das.
Thank you, Dr. Pal.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I end the meeting, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Vishnu, sir. Thank you, Gil, sir.